When we trace the history of human innovation, we usually look for physical artifacts, the stone hand axe, the wheel, or the microchip. But to survive the brutal environment of early Earth, our ancestors had to engineer an entirely invisible, yet far more sophisticated cognitive tool. They faced a high-stakes logistical problem. Young humans needed to learn the complex rules of social cooperation and survival, but trial and error in the wilderness was often fatal. They needed a way to transmit data without exposing the learner to physical danger. The solution began with a mechanism called theory of mind. This is the cognitive ability to mentally project your own consciousness into another person, allowing you to see through their eyes and understand their specific perspective. By mentally inhabiting a scenario described by someone else, we experience their memories vicariously. When a narrator describes a predator attack, the listener's brain treats that information as a safe simulation, generating a training memory of a threat that the listener never actually had to face in person. Structured storytelling was humanity's first piece of software, and just like modern developers, our ancestors engineered specific targeted features to ensure this code would run reliably on the human brain. You can see these engineering choices in the massive prevalence of talking animals throughout ancient folklore. While we often view this as a child's fantasy today, anthropomorphization functioned as a highly deliberate user interface choice. We see this interface deployed in early prototypes like the Greek Aesop's fables and the Indian Panchatantra. By using animals as avatars for human behavior, these narrators provided the audience with a necessary layer of psychological insulation. This insulation creates distance. When a child reads a book like Charlotte's Web, the animal interface allows them to process the heavy data of mortality and death without triggering the brain's natural defensive barriers. Adults rely on this same bypass mechanism to process political satire. By using animal characters in Animal Farm, George Orwell allowed readers to engage with fierce social commentary that their cognitive firewalls would have otherwise rejected. The talking animal functions as a highly efficient UX hack, delivering uncomfortable truths directly past our conscious defenses. Even the most clever interface fails if the underlying engine stalls. To keep the brain engaged through the data transfer, stories rely on a specific narrative architecture. The hero's journey operates as an ancient algorithm for problem solving. A subject leaves their ordinary world, descends into friction and trials, and returns permanently transformed. Unwinding this loop into a timeline mirrors human coping, providing a cognitive blueprint for facing trauma and acquiring skills. These structural arcs train the brain to find deeper purpose when facing the inevitable obstacles of the real world. Storytelling also serves as a vital software update for our cultures. By packaging radical new ideas inside familiar narrative formats, societies can successfully navigate rapid social changes. We see this mechanism today in the works of Sudamurthy. She utilizes familiar village settings and traditional familial structures to create a trusted environment where children can download modern concepts like scientific curiosity, gender sensitivity, and globalized education. In this way, the story acts as a bridge. It allows a culture to install modern data while preserving its legacy cultural operating system. Modern audiobooks and podcasts rely on these ancient mechanics to engage listeners and relay complex information. Whether it's a tool to help reluctant readers or a deep dive into the hidden aspects of design, the underlying technology remains the same. Our smartphones and podcast apps serve as new hardware running the exact same cognitive software developed by our ancestors around a fire. This packaging of empathy and structure allowed early humanity to scale wisdom. It meant a lesson learned by one individual could be replicated in the minds of millions, compounding knowledge across generations to build global civilizations. Next time you hear a podcast, read a bedtime story, or pitch a new idea, you are wielding the oldest and most effective piece of technology in human history.